Okay. It's been a while, a few months maybe, that I've been meaning to do this, and I've been thinking about starting my own channel and talking about um, philosophy and economics and political systems, and um, tie that together with some of the contemporary issues in the United States in terms of what's happening in the news, and try to make sense of what's happening right now. But it's just been in my head, and I've been thinking about it, but haven't really done anything about it. Now I decided to finally sit down and do something. Um, I don't know if I'll keep doing this and actually make a real channel, but I thought I'm going to start doing something. So, why do I want to do this? What exactly do I want to do? I want to do um, an analysis of systems of government and economic philosophies, number one. And number two, an analysis of contemporary social, economic, and political issues in the US and the world. And I think I guess I want to talk about why I want to do that. I've taken some notes here, and I'm trying to organize my notes. And as we go on, you will understand why I am not editing this. That's actually one of the main reasons I want to have a channel like this, and we'll get to why. But I guess I need to mention a couple of things about myself. I am not a political scientist, and I'm just living in the US, and I'm interested in politics in general. I don't know exactly why. I was never political up until probably when I was like 23, 4. It was after college when I came to the US. I was completely apolitical. I was an absolute moron when it came to anything political. So didn't know anything about the news, didn't know anything about politics. But then I started reading about US politics for some reason. And I think it doesn't matter really like why I started that way. The point is that I've been consuming US politics for the last like 12 years, I think. 11 or 12 years or something like that. And I've been trying to understand, because I came from a different country and I didn't know much about the US. I wanted to like understand the country that's hosting me, and I would have maybe, I don't know, like, yeah, I guess like trying to understand, right? Like, this is where I'm living, working, trying to understand what happens here and how to live here. And so that's why it happened, but that's not super important. The point that I'm trying to make is that all of that has led me to the conclusion that there's a lot of shit on the internet. Surprise, surprise, as if you didn't know this already. But what I mean by that is I feel like I've been wasting my time consuming political shows, and I want the time that I put in there, or like just put towards politics, to actually be useful / meaningful in some way. And I don't get that value from political shows on the internet, even less so from like print media, but for sure there's a load of crap there every single day too, but less so there. There's a lot of fighting that's happening in the United States, in the real world, meaning like, you know, between people who actually have power and those who are adjacent to power but want to be like in the primary position of power, namely the parties, whoever is in charge after an election or gets elected, versus the one that got ousted. And so they just want to go back. So there's a lot of bickering there, but there's a lot of agreement too that's kind of under the surface. I'm babbling too much, but the point is that that gets translated into the media system and then percolates to the citizenry, and the population is just always at each other's throats. And I'm just curious and wondering whether that's necessary. I'm just trying to understand why that this has happened, right? Like what exactly is this? Just how the world is supposed to work, or is this just like a what's the word I'm looking for? Something unique about the US, like a US idiosyncrasy that has emerged, and what are the reasons that contributed to it? So those are my curiosity, just to try to understand the world more and really form better informed opinions. So my solution, so that was the very, very convoluted way of saying why I want to do this. My curiosity, there's too much shit going on in the media, too much fighting. I don't think I'm getting any value from it. I don't think, to be frank, anyone's getting any value from it, even though they might think sometimes they're getting something. So I want to ameliorate that. And so that's the why. Now, one of my favorite words, raison d'être, something like that. I don't know fucking French. I barely know English, so whatever. But it's an interesting sounding and interesting meaning word, raison d'être. The reason for being. Why am I even, like, what am I bringing to the table? I think the one thing that I really, 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 really want to bring to the table, if nothing else, like the entire reason for this whole thing existing, if it ever comes into existence in a real way, is to make my assumptions explicit. And that's it. Like, I think my antidote to the fighting and bickering and the bullshit that's going around in this country and probably all over the world is that a lot of it is, I mean, there's a lot of lying and shit, but like a lot of it is also people start from different assumptions and obviously they come to different conclusions. And you can argue that sometimes the deduction steps are flawed or whatever, but I think that mismatched assumptions between two parties or more is a much, much bigger problem, because flaws in deduction are usually immediately pointed out by the opposing party, and it's like kind of very obvious, like immediately, for you to notice it, because you're hearing the steps in real time, and the weaker the link is, the more likely it is to be called out. Whereas assumptions, where you start from, right, or what your value system is, that's not explicit. That's like, you never start out by saying, I think these are my values and these lead to these. No, you're just like, start arguing for your point. And I think before we start arguing for our points, we have to ask if we even agree on what we're trying to achieve in the end. And that is not explicit in almost anything I hear ever. And so I want to talk about the analysis of systems of government, and kind of just explore how different sets of assumptions and axioms will lead to entirely different systems of government. And then hopefully, if I'm in the absolutely most optimistic outcome scenario, I would be able to construct clear paths from sets of axioms to end results, and then whoever is looking at that goes, okay, I like this set of assumptions, and hence this is what I'll get out of it, right? That's like, if that is the absolute biggest accomplishment I could have by doing this whole channel thing, right? If this turns out to be come to fruition, and yeah. So make assumptions explicit. Sorry about the, let me actually, this, sorry about the ding. Yeah, so make assumptions explicit, then go from there. Let the chips fall wherever they may. One of my favorite sayings also. And notice that I didn't say a number of things deliberately. I avoided saying them, such as be neutral. I actually don't want to be neutral. Like, I want to be precise in my arguments, in the deductive steps, but I'm not claiming any neutrality, because I'm going to try to explore very, maybe objectionable assumptions sometimes, right? Just to see where it leads. So I'm not neutral in that sense of like, maybe I don't know, maybe I am neutral because I'm comparing everything anyway, or be balanced or fair. Like, those are, I think, like, they come a lot later, and I don't care about those as much as I care about making my assumptions explicit and just actually making sense while I go from the assumptions to the conclusions, right? I hope the super successful outcome would be one where everyone would look at what I say, regardless of what they think of the assumptions, and would agree that, yes, if you have the assumptions, these explicitly mentioned assumptions, then this must absolutely follow whatever I come to, right? But I just don't want the outcome or the assumptions, I don't agree with them or whatever it might be. So therefore, this is not like the system of government that I like or want in my country or whatever it might be. That would be an extremely successful outcome. And how will I do this? Like I said, make explicit axioms. And every step of the way, examine every implicit assumption. Because a lot of times when we're talking, like, it's extremely easy to not notice that you just made an assumption and then, like, that's why you said the next thing, right? I'm going to try my hardest, because, I mean, that's the raison d'etre of the channel, the non-existent as of yet channel. So try to do that. That's kind of the only thing I'm doing here, really. And if I'm not doing that, I'm just like wasting everyone's time in digital space, and yeah. And a value system, right? So those are kind of like the same thing to me, like axioms, value systems. It's like, I think human life is sacred, right? So that's an axiom, let's say, but that's also a value system. Now then you ask, what is sacred? What does that mean? Like, you're making an assumption that you agree on the meaning of sacred, right? So try to make that explicit, and so on. And then also do a couple of other things that I think are their lack in, or lack of these couple of things in the media has contributed to a lot of toxicity in the world, which is, I guess, like, they exist in some form, but like they're you have to work hard to actually like find them out there. And these couple of things include keeping score, obviously keeping score of my own shit, and say, when I make an analysis, say, like, did it work or did it not work, right? Like, this thing that I predicted, let's check back, did it happen, right? And then evaluate reasoning systems or whatever, like assumptions or whatever it might be, that led to the failure or success of the predictions. So then we can evaluate what's what, and hopefully show my dirty work. So this is another thing that I'd like to do. What do I mean by that? I I want to like post unedited shit on my channel. Like the draft of my work, right? Because I'm not going to get everything right the first time, and I'm probably going to like miss a lot of my assumptions, even though I'm trying hard to like identify them when I'm talking about them. But it's going to happen. It's going to fall through the cracks, and that will, and just kind of like go back to the work that I did, just like, writing your draft and working on it and developing it. And just like, instead of doing that in private and, working it out and coming to a final product and then putting that out there, I want to do the drafts along the way, so that I don't know why exactly I'm thinking about this, but I think this is going to be, first of all, I guess like it's going to be easier, I think, because I am just me. I have zero money to do this. I'm just recording this on my phone. So I don't have an editing budget or time or whatever it might be, right? I don't want to do that. And also, I don't know, maybe it's like a way of keeping score and just, hey, like, what did I think before and how did it evolve or whatever. All right, that's it. I guess this is my first baby step in trying to start a channel. Oh, and I actually am hoping to find some like free AI service that can turn my videos into like, not an animation, but like some like edit, like change the look of it, the visual appearance, so that I'm not recognizable, right? I want to be turned into like a bird or something, like a talking bird with like no like white background or whatever, and my voice changed, and like I don't want to share my name. I'm gonna like not have my name on my channel. I want to be anonymous, and for a couple of reasons. I think the noble reason is that I don't want you to be influenced by who I am and evaluate my arguments on their merits. But that's bullshit. That's not, like, yes, that potentially could help in you doing so. But I don't want to be judged in society, because I think, as much as I think I'm just doing like math here in a way, right? So mathematicians start from a bunch of axioms and they're like, if you believe these axioms, then everything else follows. Like, there's no option of like, there's no arguments here. This is it. Like, if this, then this, no, that's it. End of conversation, right? Whereas in math, there's not a clear and explicit value attached to that. It's like, it is what it is, right? Geometry, whatever. Like, if you have a circle, this is what happens, right? In politics and economic systems and stuff, there are there's a value system, and people are going to be like, oh, so I guess you're a right winger. Oh, I guess so you're like a far lefty. Or like, then like people are going to take my words out of context, and like if I become like famous and with 120 million subscribers worldwide and everyone will know me, then yeah, that's not good for me. I want to have other parts of my life that won't be affected by this, and I'm just doing this as a personal curiosity more than anything. So I hope that I have that I can find. That would be a cool thing, right? Like, I don't know if it exists, but I can easily imagine it existing with the current AI capabilities of turning a video into, just make me a fucking parrot that's talking, and that's it, and change my voice. And like, everything I say remains the same. The words remain the same, all of that, right? Just change the words, and make me look like a bird. That's it. That's gotta exist, right? I don't know. That would be really, really cool. I would love that. All right, that's it. This is the video.